You ever have those mornings where the shop smells like a mix of possibilities and last night's poor decisions? I walked in today and realized I left a gallon of wood glue uncapped. It's currently a very expensive, very rubbery doorstop.
Every time you open your mouth, I feel better about my own life choices. So, are we here to talk about your adhesive mishaps? Or do we actually have some news for the TigerDen today?
If we only talked about my mistakes, we'd need a 24-hour telethon. No, today we're actually looking into the future. We've got AI trying to learn how to weld, some massive shifts in the trade office, and I'm going to settle the great debate on floor finishes before someone ruins their guest bedroom.
AI at the welding bench? That sounds like the start of a sci-fi movie where the toaster starts giving you structural advice.
Well, Joe Makowitz over at the fabricator actually put it to the test. She used it in a small repair shop environment. It turns out AI is becoming a decent little shop assistant for the greenhorns. If you're staring at a piece of thin gauge stainless and can't remember if you should be pushing or pulling the puddle, the bot can give you a starting point for your settings in about 3 seconds.
Okay, but does it actually know the feel of the metal? Because I've seen you weld by ear. You literally listen to the sizzle.
Exactly, that's the catch. It can tell you the textbook recipe, but it doesn't have the soul for it yet. For deep structural stuff or some weird alloy that was forged in the heart of a dying star, you still need a human who's spent 10,000 hours under the hood. It's a mentor, not a replacement. It's like having a GPS. It'll tell you where the turn is, but it can't drive the truck through a mud hole for you.
Speaking of big trucks and bigger equipment, did you see the moves Saginaw Control and Engineering is making?
Oh, they're going massive. 230,000 square feet of expansion in Michigan. For the folks who don't speak industrial, that's basically a small city's worth of new space for electrical enclosures.
Why should the average guy in a garage care about a giant warehouse in Michigan, though?
Because when the big dogs buy better machinery, the precision trickles down. It keeps the supply chain from becoming a choked up mess. Plus, Ferret Inc. just rebranded their whole roll-forming identity. It's a signal that the heavy metal industry is finally realizing that having a website from 1998 isn't doing them any favors. They're modernizing, which usually means it gets easier for us to get our hands on the specialized gear we need without a 3-month headache.
While we're on the subject of modernization, let's talk about the office side of the trades. I read that by 2026, the real revolution isn't going to be a new power tool. It's going to be an estimating.
Estimating is the bane of my existence. I'd rather hand sand a cathedral ceiling than sit in front of a spreadsheet. But Anthony Caradonna from Concili is right on the money. AI is moving into pre-con. It's crunching numbers and predicting costs faster than I can find my favorite pencil.
But wait, if a computer is doing the math, doesn't that make the estimator's job obsolete?
Far from it. It actually puts more pressure on us to understand cost volatility. Look, the days of giving a quote that's good for 6 months are buried in the backyard. Everything is moving so fast. If I give a client a perfect number today and the price of copper or lumber jumps 10% tomorrow, I'm the one eating that loss for dinner.
So what's the play? Just tell the client I have no idea what this costs.
That's a quick way to go out of business. No, the trick is radical honesty. You have to sit them down and explain that the market is breathing. You give them a range and explain the why behind it. Building trust by admitting things are volatile is worth way more than a firm number that turns out to be a lie 3 weeks later. If you try to be a hero with a static price, you'll end up working for free.
It's the same thing in the maker mogul world, right? We're seeing a shift from that polished, look how perfect my life is vibe to something a bit grittier.
Thank goodness for that. I was tired of seeing shops that look like they'd never seen a grain of sawdust. The 2026 trends for Instagram and the like are all about micro communities. You don't need a million followers who don't know a dovetail from a cocktail. You need a few thousand people who actually care about the craft.
Stan Store is saying the hook is everything now. You have to grab them in the first 2 seconds.
My best performing video lately was just me dropping a heavy cast iron pot on my toe and letting out a sound that didn't even sound human.
People love the carnage, Tiger, but seriously, replying to customers with video and showing the failed prototypes, the stuff that ended up in the scrap bin, that's what builds a brand. Authenticity is the only currency that isn't inflating. All right, let's pivot to the weekend warriors. I know there's a lot of people planning to tackle a bathroom or a kitchen floor this weekend. What's the word on substrates?
Don't use the cheap stuff.
Loud and clear.
Seriously though, if you're doing tile in a wet area, cement board is still the king. I know people try to find shortcuts with some of the foam boards, and those have their place, but for a rock-solid foundation that isn't going to turn into a sponge in 5 years, go with the cement. The good news is, The 2026 versions are getting lighter. You don't have to visit the chiropractor every time you pick up a sheet anymore.
And what about the finish on the hardwood? I'm redoing my hallway soon and I'm torn. Do I go oil or water?
Ah, the eternal shop floor schism. It depends on how much you value your nose and your time.
Give me the breakdown.
Oil-based is the old guard. It gives you that deep, rich amber glow. It makes the wood look like it's been there for 100 years. It's tough as nails, too. But you apply it and your house smells like a chemical refinery for 3 days, and you're waiting forever for it to dry.
And the water-based?
It's the speed run option. It stays clear, so if you want that modern, Scandinavian bright look, that's your winner. You can put down 3 coats in a single day and sleep in the house that night without seeing visions. The downside? You usually need more coats to get the same level of protection. If you've got a dog with claws like a velociraptor, oil might be the better shield. But for most people, water-based is the sanity saver.
See, this is why I keep you around. You've already made the mistakes, so I don't have to.
I've got enough scars to prove I've been a very thorough researcher.
Well, we've covered a lot today. AI mentors, the death of the perfect estimate, and why we should embrace the dust on Instagram. What's the one thing you want people to take into the shop with them tomorrow?
We talk a lot about technology and smart tools, but the real advantage isn't in the gear, it's in the transparency. Whether you're explaining a price hike to a client or showing a botched weld to a follower, your honesty is what makes you a professional. Don't be afraid of the mess. The mess is where the learning happens.
And close your glue bottles.
Yes, for the love of all that is holy, put the cap back on the glue.
That's it for today's TigerDen Daily. If you want to dive deeper into those estimating tips or see the comparison charts for those floor finishes, head over to the blog and check out our learning paths.
Keep your heads up and your tools sharp. We'll see you in the shop.